My parents disconnected my baby monitor so my brother could charge his work laptop. Now they're begging for forgiveness. "Where's the baby monitor plugged in?" I ask, my voice sharp with sudden panic. "Oh, we needed that outlet for Evan's gaming laptop," my mother says casually, not even looking up from her phone. "What?" The word comes out strangled. "You unplugged Lily's monitor." "Don't worry, sweetie, the baby's fine. You really need to relax." My hands are shaking now. "Mom, you unplugged my daughter's medical monitor. She has a life-threatening condition. It's just a baby monitor. Janelle, you're being paranoid. She has apnea." My voice cracks. That monitor alerts us if she stops breathing. "Hi, I'm Janelle." Today, I'm going to tell you a story that still makes my blood run cold when I think about it. But before I continue, let me set the stage for you. I'm 31 years old and I work as a pediatric nurse at Portland Children's Hospital. 7 months ago, I became a mother to the most beautiful baby girl in the world, Lily. She's perfect in every way, with her father's green eyes and my dark curls. But Lily was born with a serious medical condition that requires constant monitoring. Infant apnea. Her breathing can stop randomly during sleep, and without immediate intervention, the results could be fatal. That's why we use a specialized baby monitor that alerts us the second her breathing becomes irregular or stops. This isn't some fancy gadget we bought off Amazon. It's medical equipment prescribed by her pulmonologist, Dr. Amanda Whitmore. And it's literally the difference between my daughter living and dying. The alarm is loud, distinctive, and designed to wake sleeping parents immediately. We keep it plugged in 24/7, positioned to capture every breath Lily takes, and we never turn it off. My parents know this. I've explained it multiple times. So has my husband, Nathan, who's a firefighter and equally vigilant about Lily's safety. We've walked them through the equipment, shown them how the alerts work, demonstrated the different alarm patterns, and made it crystal clear that this monitor stays on and plugged in at all times. No exceptions ever. My parents, Patricia and Dale, are in their early 60s and recently retired from their jobs. Mom from teaching elementary school, Dad from managing a hardware store. They mean well, I think, but they've always had a problem with boundaries and priorities, especially when it comes to my younger brother, Evan. He's 26, works in video game design, and has been the golden child our entire lives, despite contributing nothing meaningful to family relationships. Evan is the type who shows up when it's convenient, leaves when it's not, and expects everyone to accommodate him because he's creative and stressed and working on something big. My parents enable this constantly. They rearrange their lives around his schedule, praise his mediocre accomplishments like he's won a Nobel Prize, and make excuses when he's rude or thoughtless. I'd learned to live with the favoritism growing up. I was the responsible one who didn't need as much attention, so I got less. Classic invisible child dynamics. But I'd built my own life, married someone wonderful, and established boundaries that kept the family dysfunction at arm's length. Then Lily was born with apnea. And suddenly I needed help, real help, the kind that required my parents to actually prioritize my needs over Evan's comfort. That's when everything fell apart. Lily's apnea was diagnosed 4 days after birth when she stopped breathing during a routine diaper change. 1 second she was fine. The next she was turning blue in my arms. The hospital stay that followed was the most terrifying week of my life. Watching monitors constantly, learning infant CPR on a practice doll while my real baby lay in the NICU, understanding that my newborn daughter could die in her sleep if we weren't vigilant. We came home with equipment, training, emergency protocols, and the acute awareness that parenting for us meant constant alertness. The first few months were absolutely exhausting. Nathan and I took shifts sleeping, so someone was always aware of the monitor. I couldn't return to work because childcare facilities wouldn't accept an infant with apnea. The liability was too high. Our entire lives revolved around keeping Lily breathing. My parents offered to help, which I initially appreciated. They'd come over during the day so I could shower or take a nap, always with strict instructions about the monitor. Never unplug it, never turn it off. If the alarm sounds, check on Lily immediately and call us if you're worried. They seemed to understand. For the first few months, things went smoothly. Mom would hold Lily while I slept for a few precious hours. Dad would sit in the nursery reading his Tom Clancy novels, keeping watch. They followed the rules. They respected the boundaries. Then Evan lost his apartment. His roommates had kicked him out after months of not paying his share of rent. Money he'd spent on new computer equipment for his game development. Evan needed temporary housing while he sorted things out. My parents immediately offered their guest room in their house in Beaverton, just outside Portland. Within a week, Evan had taken over their entire house. His gaming equipment spread across their dining room. 3 monitors, LED light strips, a microphone set up for streaming. His schedule dictated mealtimes because he couldn't be disturbed during creative sessions. His noise level, gaming until 3 o'clock in the morning, yelling at teammates over voice chat, made their quiet retirement chaotic. They loved it. Finally, their son needed them. He was present in their daily lives. He was giving them purpose. The fact that he was a terrible house guest who contributed nothing to groceries or cleaning didn't matter. The fact that he treated their home like a hotel didn't matter. Evan was home, and that was all that counted. This started affecting their help with Lily almost immediately. They'd cancel at the last minute because Evan needed to use Mom's Honda to go to a networking event. They'd show up late because Evan had stayed up gaming until dawn and they didn't want to wake him by leaving early. Their attention was divided, their priorities shifting back to their default setting. Evan first, Janelle second. I tried to be understanding. Evan was going through a transition. They were helping him. Families help each other. But the resentment built as I watched them drop everything for him while treating my requests for help as impositions. "Can you come watch Lily on Thursday?" I'd ask. "Oh, Evan has a big deadline that day, maybe next week." "I haven't slept more than 3 hours straight in 5 days, Mom. You chose to have a baby, honey. This is what parenting is." Then came the weekend that changed everything. Nathan had to work a 48-hour shift. Another firefighter had a family emergency and the station was short-staffed. I'd been up for nearly 2 full days because Lily had been having irregular breathing episodes that kept triggering the monitor. Not enough to require hospital intervention, but enough to keep me on high alert, checking on her every few minutes, my nerves completely shattered. I called my parents Friday morning, my voice from exhaustion. "Can you come watch Lily today? I haven't slept in 48 hours and Nathan's working a double shift. I'm not safe to care for her like this." "Oh, sweetie," Mom said, and I could already hear the excuse coming. "Evan has an important pitch meeting this afternoon with some investors. He's practicing his presentation in the living room and needs the space and quiet to focus." "Mom," I was fighting back tears, "I'm asking you to watch your granddaughter so I can sleep." "Evan can practice at Starbucks. He needs the big TV to review his slide deck properly. Can't you manage until tomorrow?" "No, I'm literally falling asleep standing up. If I don't rest, I'm going to collapse." She sighed like I was being difficult, like I was the unreasonable one. "Fine. We'll come over, but we'll need to leave by 3 because Evan's meeting is at 4:30 p.m., and we promised to take him to the Cheesecake Factory afterward to celebrate." They arrived at my house in northeast Portland at 11 o'clock. Dad was carrying Evan's laptop bag along with Mom's purse. A massive gaming laptop that probably cost more than my first car. "Evan asked us to drop this off at his friend's place for him," Dad explained. "We'll do that after you've rested." I was too exhausted to question why a 26-year-old man couldn't deliver his own laptop. I just wanted sleep, needed it desperately. I showed them Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib. The monitor displaying her steady breathing pattern on the screen. The sensor pad under her mattress, the alert system armed and functioning. The green light blinked steadily. Everything normal, everything safe. "Remember," I said, gripping the crib rail to stay upright. "Don't unplug the monitor for any reason. If the alarm goes off, check on her immediately. Call me if anything seems wrong, even slightly wrong. Her emergency inhaler is on the changing table if she needs it." "We know, honey," Mom said, already looking at her phone, scrolling through something. "We've done this before." I went to my bedroom, set an alarm for 2 hours. just enough to take the edge off the exhaustion, and collapsed into bed. I was asleep before my head hit the pillow. I was so deeply asleep that I didn't hear my parents moving around the house. Didn't hear them in Lily's nursery. Didn't hear the conversation that would haunt me. What woke me was Nathan bursting through the bedroom door at 1:15 in the afternoon. Still in his fire department uniform, his face white with panic, his eyes wide with fear. "Where's Lily?" he demanded, his voice shaking. And that's when my world stopped. I bolted upright, disoriented and confused, my heart already racing. With my parents? Why? What's wrong? Nathan's hands were clenched into fists. "The monitor's been offline for 50 minutes. I've been checking it from the station. We have the app synced to both our phones, remember? It showed disconnected. Where is she?" The words didn't make sense. Disconnected. The monitor was always connected. Always. We ran to the nursery together. My parents were in the living room watching HGTV, relaxed and unconcerned, drinking the iced tea I'd made that morning. Lily was in her crib sleeping peacefully. The monitor's power light was off. Dark. Dead. My heart stopped. "Where's the baby monitor plug?" I asked, my voice coming out strangled. Mom looked up from the TV. "Oh, we needed that outlet for Evan's gaming laptop. Don't worry, sweetie, the baby's fine. You really need to relax." "You unplugged my daughter's monitor." I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what I was hearing. "She has a medical condition. It's just a baby monitor." "Janelle, you're being paranoid about all this." "She has apnea!" I was shouting now, not caring. "That monitor alerts us if she stops breathing." Nathan was already at the crib, his firefighter training kicking in as he assessed Lily, checking her breathing, her color, her responsiveness. His hands were shaking as he touched her tiny chest, feeling for the rise and fall of breathing. "She's okay," he said, his voice cracking with relief and rage. "She's breathing fine, but she might not have been if she'd stopped breathing while the monitor was off." "We were right here," Dad said defensively, gesturing at the couch 15 feet away. "We were watching TV. We could hear if something was wrong. You can't hear apnea." I was shaking now, adrenaline and terror making my hands tremble. "That's why she has a monitor. That's why we told you never to unplug it." "Well, Evan needed to charge his laptop for his presentation," Mom explained, like this was perfectly reasonable. "The other outlets in the room weren't working properly. They're loose or something. This was the only good outlet." Nathan's face went from white to red. "So you unplugged medical equipment for a laptop?" "Don't yell at your mother," Dad said, standing up now. "We didn't know it was that serious." "We told you multiple times!" I was screaming, not caring if I woke Lily, not caring about anything except the horror of what had almost happened. "This monitor keeps Lily alive. How is that not serious?" "You're overreacting, Janelle. The baby's fine, see? She's sleeping right there." Nathan plugged the monitor back in, his movements sharp and angry. The green light flickered to life. The steady beeping resumed. Everything looked normal, but 50 minutes had passed. 50 minutes where Lily had been unmonitored. 50 minutes where she could have stopped breathing, and no one would have known. "Get out," Nathan said, his voice low and dangerous. "Both of you." "Now, Nathan, that's completely uncalled for. You endangered my daughter because your son needed to charge his computer. You unplugged medical equipment we explicitly told you never to touch. Get out of our house." My parents gathered their things, offended and huffy, acting like we were the unreasonable ones, like we were overreacting, like what they'd done wasn't dangerous. My mother actually stopped at the door and said, "We were doing you a favor by coming here on short notice. This is the thanks we get?" "The thanks you get," I said, my voice cold as ice, "is that your granddaughter is still alive despite your negligence. Leave." They left. I collapsed on the couch, crying while Nathan checked every single setting on the monitor to ensure it was functioning properly. Lily slept through everything, peaceful and unaware of how close she might have come to disaster. "How long was she without monitoring?" I asked when I could finally speak. Nathan checked his phone, pulling up the app history. "The app shows it went offline at 12:32. It's 1:15 now, 43 minutes. 43 minutes. 43 minutes where if Lily had stopped breathing, no alarm would have sounded. 43 minutes where my parents were watching home renovation shows, while my daughter could have been dying silently 15 feet away. 43 minutes that happened because Evan needed to charge his gaming laptop and my parents thought that was more important than medical equipment. I called my parents that evening after Nathan went back to the station. Dad answered, his voice cold. "I need you to understand what you did today," I said, keeping my voice steady and controlled. "Lily's apnea means her brain sometimes forgets to tell her lungs to breathe. When that happens, she stops breathing. Without intervention, she can die in minutes. The monitor detects when her breathing becomes irregular or stops, and it alarms. That alarm is the only way we know to check on her before it's too late." "We didn't know it was that serious," Dad said. "Yes, you did. I've explained this multiple times. So has Nathan, so has Dr. Whitmore. When you came to Lily's 3-month appointment, you knew. And you unplugged it anyway because Evan needed an outlet for his laptop. He had an important presentation. And Lily has a life-threatening medical condition." I was yelling again. "How is a work presentation more important than keeping your granddaughter alive?" Silence on the other end. "You made a mistake," Dad finally said. "No, you made a choice. Evan's convenience over Lily's safety. That's been your pattern our entire lives. Evan's needs over mine. But this time it wasn't just me you deprioritized. It was my daughter, your granddaughter, a baby who could have died because you needed an outlet for a gaming laptop. That's not fair, Janelle. We love Lily. Then prove it. Tell me right now that what you did was wrong. That Evan's laptop charger is not more important than Lily's breathing monitor. Say it." Another long silence, then Mom's voice in the background. "Let me talk to her." "Janelle, honey," Mom said, her voice syrupy with fake concern. "You're exhausted and emotional. Once you've calmed down, you'll see we were just trying to help by unplugging medical equipment. We didn't realize it was that important. You've always been anxious about Lily, and we thought you were overreacting about the monitor. I'm a pediatric nurse," I said slowly, like I was talking to a child. "Nathan is a firefighter with EMT certification. We both told you repeatedly how serious this is. You chose not to believe us because believing us would mean Evan's needs weren't the priority." "That's not true," Mom protested. "It's absolutely true. You've prioritized Evan over me our entire lives. Fine. I'm an adult. I can handle it. But you do not get to prioritize Evan over Lily's safety. You do not get to endanger my child because your son needs an outlet. We made a mistake. Can't you forgive us?" "Forgiveness requires acknowledgement. You're still making excuses, still acting like we're overreacting, still defending the choice to unplug her monitor. So no, I can't forgive you." I hung up and blocked both their numbers. Nathan supported the decision completely when he got home the next morning. "They endangered Lily," he said simply, holding our daughter while she slept against his chest. "They don't get access to endanger again." My parents tried reaching out through other family members. My Aunt Veronica, Mom's sister, called 2 days later to mediate. "Your parents feel terrible," she said. "Do they?" Because their apologies have all been, "Sorry you're upset," not, "Sorry we unplugged your daughter's medical equipment." They didn't understand how serious it was. "I'm a pediatric nurse who specialized in respiratory conditions. I explained it in medical terms. Nathan's a firefighter who's responded to infant emergencies. He explained it in emergency response terms. Dr. Whitmore explained it in specialist terms at the appointment they attended. They understood. They just didn't care because Evan needed something." "That's harsh, Janelle. They're your parents. And Lily is my daughter. If they can't prioritize her safety over Evan's convenience, they don't get access to her." Word spread through the family about what happened. Responses were divided. Half the family, mostly the ones who'd experienced my parents' favoritism toward Evan firsthand, were horrified that they'd unplugged medical equipment. The other half thought I was overreacting and needed to forgive because family makes mistakes. "Mistakes are accidental," I responded to every minimization attempt. This was a choice. They chose to unplug a breathing monitor for a laptop charger. That's not a mistake. That's a priority decision, and they chose wrong. Evan called me 3 days after the incident, his voice irritated. "Janelle, this is ridiculous. Mom and Dad are devastated. You need to let this go. Did you know Lily has a medical condition that requires constant monitoring?" "Yeah, Mom mentioned something about breathing issues." Did you know that monitor was unplugged so you could charge your gaming laptop? Silence. Then, I didn't know they unplugged anything. I just said I needed to charge my computer before my meeting. And they immediately unplugged medical equipment to accommodate you. That's how they've always operated. Your needs supersede everything else, including a baby's life. Do you realize your laptop charging could have killed your niece? That's not my fault. It's everyone's fault. Yours for expecting them to drop everything for you. Theirs for endangering Lily to give you an outlet. This is what happens when one person's convenience always comes first. Eventually, someone gets hurt. So you're blaming me for their mistake? Evan said, defensive. No, I'm blaming all of you for a family dynamic where Evan always gets priority and everyone else's needs, including a baby's medical needs, are secondary. Congratulations. You got your outlet charged. I hope your presentation went well. I hung up. Evan texted later. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I didn't know about the monitor. I didn't respond. Sorry doesn't resuscitate a baby who stops breathing. My parents tried showing up at our house twice. We didn't answer the door. They sent gifts for Lily that we returned unopened. They reached out to Nathan's parents, who shut them down immediately. You unplugged medical equipment for a laptop charger? Nathan's mother, Caroline, was appalled when my parents tried to get her to intercede. What's wrong with you? The family pressure continued for weeks. My parents recruited relatives to guilt-trip me. They sent cards with phrases like, "We're sorry if we made you uncomfortable." They posted vague Facebook messages about missing our precious granddaughter. That generated sympathy from people who didn't know the full story. I finally posted my own statement. My parents unplugged my daughter's apnea monitor, medical equipment that alerts us if she stops breathing, so my brother could charge his gaming laptop. They were told never to unplug it. They did anyway. My daughter could have died. We will not be resuming contact with people who prioritize laptop chargers over breathing monitors. Comments are disabled. The post stayed up for 90 minutes before Facebook removed it for violating community standards on family disputes, but those 90 minutes were enough. Screenshots circulated. People who'd been pressuring me to forgive suddenly understood the severity. The narrative shifted from Janelle is being unreasonable to, what kind of people unplug a baby's breathing monitor? My parents' reputation in our family and social circle took a significant hit. People stopped taking their side. Even relatives who'd been defending them started questioning their judgment. Evan moved out of their house 4 weeks after the incident, having found a new apartment in southeast Portland. With him gone, my parents' purpose evaporated. They tried reaching out again, this time with a more genuine apology. We made a terrible mistake, Dad wrote in an email. We should have never touched Lily's monitor. We should have told Evan to find another outlet or wait. We prioritized convenience over safety and we're deeply sorry. It was closer to accountability, but still not enough, because buried in the apology was, we hope you can forgive us and let us see Lily again. They wanted forgiveness to restore access, not because they understood what they'd done wrong. That's not real accountability, that's negotiation. Dr. Whitmore was horrified when I explained what happened during our next appointment. She documented the incident in Lily's medical file and wrote a letter to my parents explaining in explicit medical terms why unplugging the monitor was dangerous. She did this without me asking, because she was appalled that family members would endanger a patient under their supervision. My parents called the letter unnecessary and humiliating. But here's what I know. Evan got his laptop charged. His presentation went fine. He got his celebration dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. Lily lived through 43 minutes without monitoring. Not because she was fine, but because she was lucky. Luck runs out. Boundaries don't. If your parents unplugged your baby's medical breathing monitor so your sibling could charge their laptop, would you ever trust them with your child?